Vodka,
It's just
it's just too much.
it's just water.
Hello everyone. This time around we are discussing Chernobyl, not the incident itself, but the HBO series on Chernobyl. And let's just jump right into brass tracks.
Yes, so watching Chernobyl was a great experience. It was kind of a realistic touch to it. Like you can actually feel the stakes that were.
Wait, so was it your first watch or second watch?
It was my second watch. Still,
Ah,
it didn't reduce the intensity of the series. Like
hmm.
I
Okay.
watched
I,
it
I
with.
had a somewhat different experience, particularly with like some of those other scenes not related to the incident, like when she's visiting the hospital. Some of
Yeah,
those scenes were kind of boring on the second watch.
yeah. For me, they were kind of irritating, but
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I know what's going to happen, and I don't really want to watch it again.
yeah. No, on the
But
first
yeah,
watch as
for
well.
first watch, it felt perfect. I don't know. I
Hmm.
felt fine with all those scenes.
It wasn't something bad that happened on the creator's side. It was just for the human emotions of how ignorant we can be.
Mhm.
So that's why I also think that Chernobyl has a great parallels with COVID. Like there we like in the series we saw like how Russia first tried to cover it up with lies and all.
Where I once would fear the cost of truth, now I only ask, what is the cost of lies?
Yeah, and the only thing it did was to make the whole thing worse. And the same thing is happening with COVID across the countries around the world.
There's also the uncanny similarity of having to wear masks everywhere.
Yeah,
You can see it in the mine worker scene,
If these worked, you'd be wearing them.
and that's what we're seeing people like arguing today also.
the mine workers should have considered like it was the minister and the guys were volunteering to put their life at danger. But those guys had a little chance. It also makes sense, like kind of a human thing.
It's a human thing, and also from the mine workers' perspective, it's kind of their usual thing, right? Like conditions when
Yeah,
they're actually digging in mines is also downright horrible.
yeah,
And like you see the scene where he's like, I have been breathing dust for 20 years. So
yeah.
he knows like most of this propaganda is just that propaganda.
Yeah, but the thing is like more than half of the mine workers didn't survive past 40 or 45.
Speaking of that, let's address that towards the end. So there
Yeah,
is some points I want to talk about that. And I think it is something that we need to address when
yeah,
we do this series on Chernobyl.
yeah.
Before spoiling the show, let's just first talk about the good points since there are a lot of them.
Yeah, so the perfect parallels that like we have between Chernobyl and COVID being like Russia during Chernobyl and USA during COVID. So we have the leaders who are trying to avoid the responsibilities. They're just spewing out lies, but the normal people have to suffer. So the cost of their life is still the cost of their lives.
I won't say US as such because like if you look at US, like ignoring Trump, everybody
Um,
else, so they have those health commissions and all, they are properly giving out guidelines, right? It's the
no, but
people who are choosing to ignore those.
yeah, so I watched the interview like so the
Mhm.
guy's like, why are you not wearing the mask? The person literally told like the president is not wearing the mask, why should I? Like
Yes,
it's nothing.
it's the president who is definitely setting a bad role model, so to
Yeah.
speak. But like, I think
Mhm.
it's more similar with what China did, and China and the World Health Organization are
Okay,
both kind of
yeah,
partly to blame. It's like
yeah,
initially they tried to cover everything up.
yeah,
Nothing is happening, no big deal. Which is why we have COVID-19 in 2020 and
yeah.
it's not COVID-20. So I think that
Yeah.
speaks a lot.
Actually that's a better parallel than US.
Yeah, so you realized.
Yeah,
Anyways, let's talk about the good stuff of this series and not
yeah,
the horrible things that are happening outside.
What does the dosimeter say?
3.6 Rontgen, but that's as high as the meter.
3.6. Not great, not terrible.
yeah.
So starting off with cinematography.
It was on point. Means there weren't any fancy tricks or anything. There were some little movements that were perfect. Like you have the scene during the fire when the fireman that we are focusing on was
Mm-hmm.
told to go on the roof,
Hmm.
and then he's like seeing the roof on his left side, like the fire is on his left, So he's looking at towards left, and then in the next scene we have his wife who is looking toward the plant, which is on the right. So it's kind of a similarity that okay, they are looking towards each other in the same direction. That was
Are you sure now? I don't know. That sounds like a stretch to me. It's like there's a fire in front of you. You'd look at the fire, right? And it might be just a coincidence. I don't know. It
can
might
be,
also be planted.
yeah.
But so there was this thing that I noticed. So in some of the more intense scenes, you have a degree of camera shake. So it makes it feel like you're actually in that room and you're experiencing those events with them.
Yeah, and also the scene where they went in to clear out the water.
Dude, that
So
was
at the
perfect.
end of the episode, like they just it's total
That
silence.
scene was perfect, man. That
Yeah,
scene, I think, might be the best scene, or one of the best at least, of the entire series.
yeah,
It's does so much with so little, right? There's no dialogue, there's no narration, there's no music even. Like just the sounds of water,
and the
uh,
dosimeter
the
taking.
dosimeters, yeah, and the setting itself. Also, I think color correction was like really on point here.
Yeah,
The way it was shot gave you the old film vibes a little bit.
yeah, and
Like you're
kind of
actually looking at a documentary from that time.
yeah, and kind of a colder vibe too as well, like giving the Russia's location. It's
Yeah.
even
And
if
like I think the
it's
cigarettes also help with that. It's like everyone's like shown to be a chain smoker.
bro and vodka, bro. Like
Vodka,
it's just
it's just too
like
much.
it's just
It,
water.
it's at the yeah, exactly. It's like water bottles on the table at this point.
Yeah.
I think nobody even bats an eye to a vodka bottle there. Which has been criticized by some. It's like, no, Soviet Union did not have so much vodka flowing around.
Oh.
This is just Chernobyl. It's like, especially in that scene where Uliana goes to some big party head,
Hmm.
and then like that fat guy, and then he's shown to have
Yeah.
a bottle of vodka on his table. So people were like, no, that does not happen in Soviet era.
Oh.
Vodka during work hours, no.
At the end of the first episode, also, we have this beautiful B-roll. So initially, they are just showing the daily life of like people in Chernobyl, and then at the last one, we have a bird dropping dead on the pavement. The episode ends.
Yeah, that like kind of is like a foreboding warning, right, of the bad things
Yeah.
to come. It reminded me of the cannery thing. They have canneries in mines. It was like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But then, like with cinematography, you also need to like the sets. They were so
yeah.
perfect, and this has been like widely acknowledged. Like people from who have lived in Soviet Russia have like
Hmm.
praised the set design and all that.
Oh,
And like I was reading that interview with the screenwriter. So what
hmm.
he said that especially for the main characters, they actually went out and found 1980s cloth.
Oh, nice.
So 1980s or 1970s.
I
It's
think
like
it was
actually they found that era cloth and then made the suits out of that to make it even more era perfect.
nice.
But even yeah, that's like too much. Just so much hard work into those sets with those fans, those CRT televisions, and that control room also. That's also
Mhm. Even those like small things as the controls of the moon rover as well. You have those buttons, big chunky buttons, and the flip
I don't know.
switches.
That kind of felt fake to me. It's like if you
Oh,
have a moon rover, you probably won't have just like two buttons, right? Just up and down. Nah. Like not the main panel, the final controller with
hmm.
which he moves the robot. That felt like it was straight out of an old Game Boy or something. Like, TT forward.
I thought maybe that was because like it was a prototype sort of thing. So for just checking the controls.
Could be. That is also true. That is one thing that I had not thought. They do mention that it's a prototype, right?
Yeah.
But I think like the one reason why like the cinematography stands out and the story is the personal aspect that they've captured.
Yeah, exactly.
So like again, this was in the same interview they mentioned, right? Like
Hmm.
uh, either it was in the interview or I read it somewhere else, but it's like if you have a story with so many people, it's very hard to actually make it relatable, right? You stop feeling empathy towards a group of people.
Yeah, yeah,
But so that they have really captured, I mean, nailed down, double down on it, make it very personal.
yeah. Means you have this small, short stories of like some perspectives from everyone in the story. Like, okay, what they are thinking, what is at stake for them, how are they gonna cope with the situation that is at hand.
That and also it's also shown through camera. So, for example, when the firefighters are first arriving at the scene,
Hmm.
you first have a scene showing his face, like what he's what his expressions are.
Yeah.
Then the scene changes to a first person perspective. So
Okay.
what he's seeing, that like kind of just like nails it down. What you get the exact feeling of what that firefighter is experiencing. I mean that like they just nailed it down in cinematography department, I must say.
Yeah.
So they had like this same aspect has been also repeated some other time. Like first you'll have a scene showing their face or showing his reaction, and then you'll have a first person perspective showing what he's seeing, and then you can relive the experience.
Oh, nice. I didn't notice it, but yeah, like maybe it was
So it's
good that.
also when
Yeah.
like when the new guy is joining that army kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So when he's arriving in the bus, first he sees that guy outside getting all sick.
Hmm.
No, first you have a scene showing his face, and then you see a first person kind of perspective outside the window
Yeah.
of the guy getting sick. So
Yeah.
that like sets up the scene, what he's experiencing.
Yeah. Means
Yeah,
that also good things for like good cinematography. Like you don't see it in the like you don't directly notice it.
yeah, that is very true. It's like it's very good if you don't notice the
Yeah.
things, right? You have to look out for them.
Yeah.
This is also something I personally didn't really notice it even after second watch. It like when it was pointed out, then I realized like, oh yes,
No,
this is
yeah.
a really good thing they've done.
Same for me as well.